Hey guys, so great to have you join us this week. I am honoured to introduce you to my little brother. This is Nathan.
Hey guys.
So I thought I spoke on an earlier video, which I will put the link below, about reconciliation in our family after a long time ago, and my brother Nathan came up and surprised our mum and dad for Dad's birthday. So that's a week ago tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And it's tomorrow I'm taking him back to the airport to head back home. So I just wanted to get some of your perspective on how it was for you. Like, you know that we've been talking on the phone and having videos, and which has been amazing, and we've been so excited about this. But I imagine having been away for a long time, many years, that while there was excitement, there would have been other emotions in there with that. So do you want to share a bit about what else was going on for you?
Yeah, so as Kylie said, it's been 30 years. There's been a lot of times where I've been around, but I haven't been around. I've gone through a huge journey to get to where I am now. So, getting here, coming up, I was anxious, I was nervous, but more than anything, I guess I was concerned that I'm still not the person that Mum and Dad would have liked their son to be. You go through so much in your life, and you try to be the best that you can, but you still feel like you're a disappointment, and I've felt like that for a long time. So I was nervous about whether or not they would A, be happy to see me, and B, want to see me. I've had my brain basically come up with all these scenarios, and in a few of them it didn't go well. So there was the fear of whether or not they would actually be happy, to have me around after all this time.
Wow.
But all those fears went out the door as soon as I walked through the door, essentially.
So tell me a bit about that. What was that like, that moment where I dropped you up the road and then we walked in? What was that like? Tell us a bit about that.
I was bricking it. Absolutely bricking it. I didn't know how it was going to be. As you know, you were already in there, and I decided to do the phone call. I wish I could be there to spend some time with you, but hopefully everything's going well. And then I nervously knocked on the door, and you came to the door, and I sort of waved at Mum because I could see her straight away. She almost screamed and walked in the door, and Dad started crying, and that basically took all the fears away and made me realise that I was worried for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Wow, I can't have imagined, like, I was excited the whole time. I can't imagine those feelings that you would have been feeling from really the moment that you made the decision to come up or down, up.
Up, yeah.
And I can't imagine, like, walking through that door, what are you going to experience? That blows my mind, like how brave and courageous you actually were to do that. That would have been very big. I remember that day 30 years ago. I was a live-in nanny about 40 minutes away from our family home, and I remember getting that call from Mum saying that you packed your bags and you left for school and you didn't come back. And I saw the journey of Mum and Dad, what they went through, and I know my own journey, and I have spoken previously on belief systems, and I remember back then feeling it's my fault. What did I do wrong as a sister? I remember thinking I'm not enough as a sister, and my love wasn't enough to make you stay. All those things that I was 18 at the time, that, you know, we live out of what we believe, as you've heard me say many times. And I remember going through the journey of what could I have done to be a better sister. Now, that was my perspective. What at that time as a 16-year-old boy was going on for you in that time? What were you believing about yourself back then?
You could honestly say a lot of the same as you were going through. I was struggling with my sexuality at the time, and I was feeling like I was a failure. I wasn't the son that they had raised. I wasn't the brother that you had loved. I was a huge disappointment because of something that was out of my control, essentially. And so, as you put it, you know, you were on your journey. I started my journey too. So I was basically trying to figure out who I was, and I went the long way around on my journey, zigzagging, climbing mountains, digging holes. I was all over the place, essentially. I struggled with drugs and alcohol. I struggled with a lot of mental health stuff. And it was challenging because I wanted to be a good son, I wanted to be a good brother, but in my head, I was a disappointment because I couldn't follow the path that Mum and Dad had laid out for me, essentially, or they would have preferred me to be on. It's probably a better way of putting it. And it's taken me a long time to get to the stage where I am now, where I'm happy with myself, and where I feel like I'm not actually the disappointment that I thought I was.
Wow. So you said about being a disappointment back then, 30 years ago. Then when we were talking just a moment ago, you said coming up and the anticipation about seeing Mum and Dad again, you felt like that disappointment. So with belief systems, which I've spoken about previously, that is, we live out of our belief systems. So you were believing in your heart of hearts that you were a disappointment as a person. Yeah, wow. So that is something that has been a personal truth. I call these personal truths to you for 30 years. Wow.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that had gone, but I think coming back and not knowing exactly how they would react, whether they actually wanted me to, you know, come up, there was a lot of doubt going through the head. There was so much excitement leading up to it, and I was packed like a week beforehand. It was like, this day can't come quick enough. There was so much excitement, but then the doubt
undercurrent of anxiety and feeling like a disappointment. That's big emotions right there.
It all came back, you know. It was like I was the 15-year-old again, but all those fears went away as soon as I actually saw Mum and Dad.
And their response to seeing you.
As you would say, it made my heart sing. It just made the weight off the shoulders completely. It was such an incredible reaction because I didn't expect it. You know, it wasn't a shock. It was a joyful feeling.
So good.
When I walked through the door and Mum saw me, and then when I walked a little bit further and Dad saw me, I didn't expect the reactions that I actually got. So it was definitely a relief. It was definitely a relief to be able to make them happy and feel pride, which I guess I had given up on feeling that, because for a long time there I gave up on myself, and so I gave up on ever getting to reconnect, and it took me 30 years to finally have the courage and the desire to reconnect. There were so many times I wanted to, but I was scared. I was scared. Totally that, I wasn't the son that they wanted. I wasn't the brother that you wanted. Because I know the life that Mum and Dad would have liked for me. I don't know if you ever had this is what my brother should be, sort of.
I find it very liberating when people are their authentic selves. So whatever that looks like, I don't do fake well. So if someone turns up and is fake, I don't find that walking in their truth or freedom. So what I wanted for you, what I've wanted for every person that sits in front of me, is to be their authentic self. So I just want to start by saying I honour you for doing that. That is so courageous, for coming up and being so brave that after 30 years and those triggers of reinforcing that you are a disappointment and those belief systems, you still did it anyway. I remember talking to you on the way up and we were so excited. It was meant to take at least 2 days to get here from its over 16-hour drive, and he was so excited, and we were talking nearly the whole way on the phone, and he couldn't wait. He didn't want to stop. He wanted to do it in one day, and yeah, I just want to say that was so courageous, and I'm so glad, because look how it's turned out.
It's been the best week that I could have ever... Well, I couldn't have even dreamed how much of a good week it's been.
So good, so good. And for Dad's birthday, we went up and surprised him like the day before his birthday. But my son was also there with his beautiful fiance, and Dad said that and he said it numerous times, hasn't he? It's the best birthday he's ever had.
Yeah.
And that makes my heart happy. And that in the morning he rang and he said, I've had the best sleep I've ever had. He had such a great weekend with our whole family here. It was just stunning. And talking about everything that we've just talked about, maybe there's a situation that's happened in your world that you want breakthrough in. See, one situation happened and it went through my lens of not being enough, which is like glasses. It's like a pair of glasses that you see through that lens of I'm not enough. I wasn't enough as a sister. So I'm seeing it through that perspective. My mum and dad, I don't know what they were believing about themselves at the time. I didn't even understand belief systems and personal truths back then. You were believing that you're a disappointment.
Yeah.
And probably if we get to the root of it, it would have been that you weren't enough as a son, as a brother. And so all these different perspectives of things that were going on, and we all blamed ourselves. I'm sure mum and dad did as well. We all went through hell, really. What do you think, going back to that point. Not that we can change the past. I love a saying that I say a lot is we can't change the past, but we can rewrite or redesign the rest of our story, which has really happened this weekend. So we've just had a whole week together.
Yeah.
So you mentioned coming up you felt disappointment and triggered by some of those personal truths and emotions from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So hindsight is a wonderful thing. So after this amazing week we've had, have you got any advice to anyone out there who may have maybe had a breakdown in their family or anything like that? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Don't wait. Don't wait for 30 years. Use me as an example of what not to do. I wish I had reached out a long time ago and reconnected. I've wasted many years, and if I could give any advice is don't wait 30 years. It's been such an incredible time, and I feel like I have wasted a lot of years that I could have been making memories, sharing the love and the joy, laughing, crying, all the things that you do with family. You know, bonding. You know, I've appreciated the fact that we've had this week instead of just a couple of days like we had initially planned, because I planned just for a couple of days just to come up for Dad's birthday. But I decided to extend it out. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and because of that, I can think, I wish I'd done this a long time ago. I feel like I've wasted so many years when all that needed to be done was honest, open communication on all sides. I wish I'd, you know, made more of an effort instead of just hiding away, feeling like a disappointment. All the years that I wasted thinking, you know, I'm not the son that Mum and Dad wanted. You know, they could have done so much better, especially being adopted. It's made me feel like, well, I'm not their birth son, so it doesn't really matter anyway. You know, they can just put all their effort into Kylie, their birth daughter. But that was the most stupidest thing that I've probably done in my entire life, and I've done lots and lots of silly, stupid things. But if I can offer one bit of advice, it's open the dialogue. Make sure to not wait too long, because sometimes people don't get the chance to say the things they wanted to. I feel very grateful that I've, you know, got a beautiful sister, a beautiful mum and dad who have never stopped caring about me, never stopped praying for me, never stopped believing. I guess I've always known that, you know, deep down they're still thinking about me and they still love me and care for me, but at the surface level, I was a disappointment, and that's all that kept running through my head. So,
because you were living out of that, because that was your lens, which we weren't enough.
I wish that I had just asked, am I a disappointment? Is there anything that I can do to try and rectify, you know, the break that we've had for so long? But basically all that I needed to do was just make that little bit of an effort. And yes, it was a 16-hour drive, 16 plus hour drive, which killed my car, but totally worth it. Totally worth it to be able to reconnect and now to start making new memories, because we can't go back and get the time back that we had, but
we can create new ones, and we've done a fair bit of laughing this week, let me tell you.
We have, even trying to make this video, it has been one cracker of a time.
It's been good.
It has.
It's been good.
And I love my sister, I love my parents. I never did stop loving them, never did stop thinking about them. I know there's been a few times that I have come back, but it hasn't been me. I've gone through my struggles, I think I mentioned, with drugs and alcohol, and during the times where I have been around, I haven't, and they're the times that I feel I've wasted too, because I wanted so much to have what we've got and what we've always had, but I believed it wasn't there. I believed, you know, it was just in my head. It was easier for them to just not worry about me, put everything into Kylie, and that's life. But all the time, they've not stopped loving me, not stopped caring for me, not stopped praying for me, you know, hoping that I'm safe. And I'm so grateful for that, you know, and I'm grateful for the fact that we can reconnect and you know, build that bridge back.
Definitely.
That's divided us for so long.
Definitely. There's no bridge now. So it's awesome. I love it. My mum and dad put their name down on the adoption list because they were told that they actually couldn't have children. So then they got a little surprise, which is me. And then when I was 2.5, their name came up on the adoption list, and apparently I was only 2.5. I don't remember it, but mum and dad tell me that when Nathan came into the house, I was like, oh, my little Darwin. So meant to be little Darwin, but I said Darwin, and he's always been my little Darwin. So there was, it wasn't like I was the sister and you were the adopted one. It was always, he was my brother and you were their son. And
I was blood.
Definitely.
Even though technically it's not the same blood running through. You were ours. Yeah. And I just love that. I know this has been a bit longer today, but I just love the last week, what has happened. I couldn't not share it with you and encourage you as well that, as I've said before, we can't change our past, it's gone, but if you're courageous, like my brother here was, he was courageous. He did it in spite of the fear and the personal truths and the triggers, and it's definitely paid off, hasn't it? And you know, you can do that too, and never give up. You know, we were believing for 30 years, and I'm just so happy to have him beside me today, and I'm glad that you got to meet him as well, and hopefully there'll be more of these. So thank you for joining us. If you haven't, can you subscribe and like this video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye, have a great day.